So, we've had some incredible sponsors in this cycle, but Jim, next year it's very, very important, and I'm sure you'll all agree that we get Febreze on board this time, because this room stinks. Seriously, there's a little cloud outside that. Everyone who's not cycling, we're not sensitive, we know we absolutely reek, but that's okay. We've only got 80k to go. So this is our last day of the Cycle Against Suicide, and the first thing people ask is why I'm here, obviously. Apart from being a keen cyclist, I'm also here because I suffer from mental health issues. I have done since I was a teenager. It's something that, unfortunately, I sat on for 10 years and let it grow. The best way probably to describe it, and a lot of the cyclists might have heard this story, when a lady outside said to me, no matter how many times I've heard it, it still has an impact on me. And it's the best thing anyone's said to me so far. It's the one thing that makes me realise, hopefully I'm getting through. The first story, when I realised there was something up, like every teenager, you know, you're going through life and you want to be an adult, because adults look like they're having the great crack and it looks really easy. It's not. But 15, 16 years of age, I decided something wasn't right. I was going through exams, you know, stress, junior cert, which at the time is the biggest thing in your life, apart from getting loads of money for your confirmation and communion, because it was all about the money back then. But yeah, finished my junior certs, felt okay, felt I did okay, but something wasn't right, and I wasn't able to socialise, and I was a very social kid, teenager. Like, I loved playing football, all those sports, but I wasn't able to. I was actually frightened of my friends. I used to hide in my room. My mother called me if someone called around, so they just wouldn't be able to talk to me. I didn't know what to say. So one day this got particularly bad, and I put a chair in my bedroom beside my bed, and my parents were away, and I took my hand until every bone in my forearm and elbow was broken, and I batted off the chair, because I wanted to go into hospital, because when I was in hospital I wouldn't have to talk to anybody, and I had to take loads of morphine and just fall asleep. So yeah, I broke my arm. That was the first sign, and it was petrifying. So what did I do? I obviously kept quiet, said nothing. Lived to 17, 18 years of age, started representing my country, international rugby, played for my county at senior level, under 21s level, and captained the minor team. I won an under 21 Leinster All-Ireland medal for Westmeath, which is very unusual for us. So this was my life, this incredible journey I was on as a sportsman. I was loving it, everything everybody wanted to be. But behind all this, I was struggling, and I was struggling badly, and especially with rugby and Gaelic and sports like that, you certainly aren't going to talk about your mental health issues with your coach. They don't care. They didn't care at the time, and that's nothing to do with the coaches, that's to do with the social stigma that we have of sports people. So I just struggled on with it. It didn't affect me professionally. I trained. Got to my 20s, went to college, just assumed things would change in college, because like getting out in the world and stuff like that. But fortunately it didn't, because you know, you bring alcohol into the equation and it starts compounding the issue, really. And that's unfortunate in this country. We number one, don't like speaking about mental illness, but we also don't like helping it. And I fell out through college. I just kept the head down. I studied. I was a full-time professional with Leinster, so I was training twice a day, every day. So I didn't really have time to think about what was going on. And I was also too tired when I got home. But then insomnia kicked in for an athlete. Bad sign. I couldn't sleep, and my coaches were saying, God, you're all over the place. What's wrong with you? You used to be brilliant at this. What's happening? And I'm like, oh, maybe I'm just tired. Maybe my diet's not right. No, I was a fool. Maybe I'm not fully. You know, maybe if I had the strength back then, and believe me, I was a strong guy, but I didn't have the strength to talk, which was my ultimate weakness. Fast forward to my 20s, 25, 26, a very, very close friend of mine a guy that I looked up to, a guy who I was essentially an apprentice to as a rugby player, the captain of my team, Mullingar, when I was 18, 19 years of age, the guy who told me I could be a professional rugby player. Farmer, hardest man I've ever met in my life. Is the best thing about him, he was the toughest. God, honestly, I've never seen anyone so scared of anyone, but his voice never broke, so he had this really high voice. And we used to love it, like, you said, we can't take you seriously, dude. It's just, like, you're screaming us on the pitch, and it sounds like you're going through puberty. I just can't. It doesn't work on a rugby pitch, but this guy who I love dearly, I got a call when I first moved to London to say he was found hung outside his house. And the story that this will break everybody's hearts, his mum and father, his father's immobile, couldn't walk, had to watch his son do it because he couldn't get out of the house. He was the captain of the Mullingar Rugby Club. He was an incredibly strong person, but he lived with this like I did and didn't talk about it. He was severely clinically depressed since he was 18 years of age, yet he kept it hidden. I was lucky that at 22, 23 I started talking a little bit with my family. First and foremost my mother, who's without doubt the most important person in my life. She knew, of course your mother knows these things, she knew something wasn't up and she almost was relieved when I told her because finally she was able to help them. You can't force somebody, everybody just keeps saying, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And your mother knows you're lying. So when I told her finally, I said, Mum, something's not right. It was, her shoulders just left. She goes, right now we can start working on it. So, I told my parents, started telling my friends, close friends, people that to this day I owe a lot to. Especially after what happened with our friends and our friend in the group, I said, right lads, if there's anyone in this group who has any of these, you know, has anything they need to talk about, now's the time. And we did. A few of us started talking. And we immediately felt that, we felt guilty because we said if we had done this earlier, maybe he would be still with us. But we didn't. And so I kept going, started talking to more people, mid-20s, got a bit older, and I got a bit wiser, funnily enough, and decided then enough was enough. I went through a few acute phases of deep anxiety and depression that I didn't actually know was depression at the time, but people who say they're depressed because they're down, you'll know when you're depressed. Everything else is irrelevant. Everything. Your parents, everything goes out of your head. So it's horrible. You're unemotional, and it's not because you don't love people. It's because you don't want to put them through what you're going through. You don't want to, you know, affect them. And that's the ultimate message I get across to people who are actually maybe living with people who have mental health issues. They might seem at times unemotional, but it's the complete opposite. It's because they love you so much that they can't communicate, because they have to hide this, because they don't want to bring you through what they're going through. So, as this went on, the next big thing that happened, and there was two things that happened in the phase in my late 20s that made me go, this is it, it's changing. One was an acute, severe, debilitating panic attack, and I've had panic attacks, but this one was different. Before on live television, on The Voice of Ireland last year, second live show, anyone who watches the show, you wouldn't have known. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't have even thought about it, and that's because I'm a strong person, and I was able to dig deep. But 10 minutes before I went live there, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't swallow, I couldn't see. Tears coming out my eyes, my left ear went deaf. I basically lost any kind of strength in my legs. I had to sit down. I was on the floor of my dressing room, and I said it was bad enough I was sharing with Keane Egan, but I was having a panic attack at the same time. And I was on the floor saying, please don't come in, and the producer knocked on the door and says, no, I'm coming out, don't come in, because I didn't want them to see me. And I got up and I did what, the first time in my life, the deepest I've ever gone. I pulled it out from summer to get myself together. I actually put my head under a shower, cleaned my face, and then the makeup girl was going, what happened to your makeup? I was like, oh, you know, mascara all over the place. So I went on looking like a bit of a gobshite, but I went on. And I sat through it, And after that show, I went home, back to my hotel. They all went out for drinks, and I said, that's it. You know, that's the last anxiety is going to get the better of me. That is it. And I started figuring out the best way to go forward. And at that point, I had my first, I suppose, call to make. Do I compound it? Do I do what some people do? Do I go and try to drink the pain away or take drugs? Or do I go down the route of just becoming more enclosed and not speaking about it? Or I just open up, like literally open up about everything. And I'm a strong person, I'm focused, I know exactly what I'm capable of, and I knew that was certainly not the route that I would ever go, ever. And I went this route. And I struggled. I got Christmas, and I got sick at Christmas. I had an operation in my hand. And as you do, when you go into Irish hospitals, you get winter vomiting bug, chest infections. And I came out, and I was in bed for a couple of days, and I was struggling. I kind of pretended I was sicker longer than I should have because I couldn't face anybody. And I got, something happened. I said, it was clear as day to me. I said, this is how I'm going to fix it. Because I took that road, but I still didn't realise what it was I had to do. I just knew I was going to go on that road. But then it hit me at Christmas, and I said, it's biology. This isn't some haunting ghost that unfortunately has picked me and decided it's going to go, well, you deserve this, because I didn't deserve it. And I knew that then. I said, this is biology. I've been diagnosed with general anxiety disorder. I had depletion of serotonin in my brain. Every book in the world tells you, how do you get serotonin in your brain? How do you make it explode? How do you get it going? Every book, every psychotherapist, anybody will tell you, you get active. That's how you do it. And it depends how much you get active, but getting active works. That was right, got me thinking, triathlon. Going to the gym once a day, or once a week or twice, it wasn't going to work for me because I would come from a professional athlete perspective where I was used to being kind of challenged physically. I said, what's challenging? A triathlon, that's challenging, let's do it. Bought a bike, got training. That was January. Cycled the cycles, ran, went to the gym, started getting really fit. Fitter than I've ever been, stronger mentally and physically. And every single time I had an element, even a tiny element of anxiety, anything. It could be 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, which it usually does come, sneaks up at you when you're waking up. I put on a pair of runners and I run. Or I cycle, and I come home and I laugh at it. I'm like, tough shit, lads. I know what you're trying to do. And I got really, really, really competitive with anxiety. Like, angry, and I bet the crap out of it.